Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers vehicle code, traffic laws, and sovereign citizens, and comes to us from Real World Police's channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. In mid-July of 2018, 40-year-old Brian Jackson was giving a friend a ride in an unfamiliar neighborhood, where he was observed by an Oklahoma City police officer making several erratic turns and pulling in and out of driveways to turn around. The officer tailed Mr. Jackson for a few blocks and then stopped him after noticing that his vehicle did not have a proper tag.
How's it going, man? You all right?
Yes, sir.
You lost?
No, sir. Well, we found it. It's where the Crown Vic is.
Okay. Are you working with like a church or something, or what?
Negative. My name is Church.
Okay, I got you. So is this like, what is this vehicle for then?
It's for me.
Okay. I just noticed it doesn't have like an actual license plate on the back. It just has your... Is it like a business vehicle or what?
No. According to the law, Title 47, I don't have to have a registered tag if I'm not conducting commerce. If I'm just in my personal activities, I don't need a tag. If I'm doing commerce, then I need a tag.
Okay. Well, it's got like a... Let me look at the plate real fast.
You got two statutes back there as well. Those are these statutes.
Mr. Jackson has two Oklahoma vehicle codes displayed on the back of his vehicle. The low resolution of the video makes it difficult to see, but it appears as though the top statute is referring to a utility vehicle code, and the bottom statute is referring to a license plate code. I was unable to locate any federal or Oklahoma 47102 code, but I believe that Mr. Jackson was attempting to cite sections 38 and 39 of Oklahoma Vehicle Code 47-1102, which provide the definitions for a vehicle and a utility vehicle, respectively. Interestingly enough, the language of the statutes directly contradicts Mr. Jackson's interpretation of the law. Section 38 defines a utility vehicle as a vehicle powered by an internal combustion engine that is manufactured and used exclusively for off-highway use. And Section 39 defines a vehicle as any type of conveyance by which a person or property is transported from one location to another upon the avenues of public access within the state. Neither of those definitions allows citizens to drive any type of vehicle on public roadways without a license plate. The possibility exists that Mr. Jackson is referring to some antiquated version of the Oklahoma Vehicle Code that I was unable to find, but it is extremely unlikely that any such code would be considered valid in a modern courtroom.
Why does it say not for hire on it?
By law, it has to say that. If I'm conducting commerce, then I'd have to say for hire.
Okay.
If I'm not for hire, the law say I have to post it on my vehicle as not for hire.
Okay, do you have valid insurance on it?
I'm not required to answer that by law, but if you want to write me a ticket, I'll go ahead and take the ticket.
Okay.
That way your day will go by faster and mine.
Well, do you just have an ID? All I'm trying to make sure is you have a driver's license and stuff like that, and I'll get you out of here.
Well, I don't need a driver's license to drive.
Okay.
Because that's for people that's conducting commerce.
Okay.
The problem is they don't tell y'all that, and they don't tell the citizens that. It is in law, but the problem is when we get out here, y'all don't know and we don't know.
Okay.
The law do say those who are conducting commerce have to have a driver's license. But if I'm in my regular conveyance, I already took the law down. Title 68-701 says I have a right to travel.
Okay.
Title 68, Section 701, is an Oklahoma statute that provides definitions for certain terms as they apply to Oklahoma revenue and taxation laws, and once again contradicts Mr. Jackson's assertions. Not only does 68-701 classify Mr. Jackson's SUV as a motor vehicle that is subject to the vehicle codes of the state, but it also clarifies that every road, highway, street, way, or place within Oklahoma that is generally open to the public use falls within the jurisdiction of the code. Title 68 makes no distinction between driving in commerce and driving as a private citizen, and it is difficult to understand how Mr. Jackson misinterpreted the code so drastically. After Mr. Jackson refuses to produce identification or proof of insurance, the officer returns to his patrol car to call for backup and makes some interesting statements about Mr. Jackson to his colleagues.
All right, dude, who's in the back seat with you?
I'm taking her where that Crown Vic is right there.
Okay. All right. Hang on just a second, okay?
No problem.
97, I'm on traffic, 33rd and Woodward. It's pro white, Escalate, no tag. He started me another, I've got two sovereign citizens inside. No, he's just not wanting to give me his ID or anything like that. So he doesn't recognize our government.
The concept of sovereign citizenry was established in 1971 by a Christian minister named William P. Gale and was heavily influenced by previous, less organized anti-federalist doctrines. Sovereign citizens believe that the rules and laws established by the justice system do not apply to them, and that they are not subject to taxation from government entities. The contemporary sovereign citizen belief system is based on a decades-old conspiracy theory, which differentiates common law and admiralty law, and claims that the government has pledged its citizenry as collateral capital by selling their future earning capabilities to foreign investors, effectively enslaving all Americans. Sovereign citizen ideology is rich with conspiracies, and I can only scratch the surface in this video. The FBI took a special interest in the sovereign movement in the late 1980s and all but wiped out the core members through the 1990s. Although the movement has died down significantly in recent years, serious legal and social implications are still attached to the label of sovereign citizen, and those words alone have the potential to elevate charges to a federal level. Mr. Jackson never claimed to be a sovereign citizen, and the fact that he attempted to cite Oklahoma statutes is a testament to his personal philosophy. Throughout the interaction, Mr. Jackson makes several attempts to assure the officers that he is not part of any movement. The officers' reckless conclusion that Mr. Jackson is a sovereign citizen could seriously damage Mr. Jackson's reputation and credibility, and proves to have some interesting consequences after the interaction. Eventually, backup arrives on the scene, and the officers order Mr. Jackson out of the vehicle.
Do you have a driver's license in Oklahoma, yes or no? They're just coming to help me out.
You don't even need no help, bro.
Okay.
It's just me and you.
I know. I'm just asking if you have a driver's
Can we-
license on you.
Did you get his information yet?
You won't.
Can we open
Sir,
the
you
door
need to step out of the car, please.
Okay, but can we turn it high?
Okay.
Sure. Step out of the car.
Not a problem.
Okay. Turn around, put your hands around behind your back.
Put your hands behind your back.
Turn,
Second,
put your
okay?
hands around your back. Okay.
Just gonna detain you right now until
Not
you
a
figure out
problem.
who you are, okay?
Okay, hey, no problem. I promise you I'm not no sovereign citizen freak.
Huh?
I know the routine on the sovereign citizens. I am
Okay.
not one of them.
You're not?
Oh, hell no.
Okay.
I don't agree with them.
So what are you then? If we had to put you in a,
That's a telephone.
okay, if I had to put you in a category, what would I put you in? 'Cause-
The reason why I'm not like them is because I have the utmost respect for y'all.
Okay.
However, they think they're above the law. Me, I just know it. That's the only difference.
Mr. Jackson attempts to plead his case to the officers, but the officers refuse to let go of the sovereign citizen label. After some coercion from the officers, Mr. Jackson eventually surrendered his name, but refused to provide his date of birth. The officers were still able to identify Mr. Jackson and discovered that his license was suspended. One of the officers also noticed that the vehicle identification number plate had been removed from Mr. Jackson's Escalade, which is a felony offense in Oklahoma. After being pressured from his lieutenant, the arresting officer reluctantly charged Mr. Jackson with felony VIN tampering, among other crimes, and placed a hold on his vehicle to ensure that it wasn't stolen, even though the officers were aware that the vehicle had been registered to Mr. Jackson for 12 years. A few days after the interaction, Oklahoma News 9 ran a bit about the encounter that was highly skewed in the officers' favor and exacerbated the sovereign citizen narrative despite having access to the full video of the officer's body cam. After being publicly called out for their bias, News 9 decided to update their report 1 month later to include Mr. Jackson's side of the story. In a statement to News 9, Mr. Jackson said that he planned to represent himself in court and denied all allegations of involvement with the sovereign citizen movement. I was unable to find any updates on Mr. Jackson's case, but I think it's safe to assume that it did not go well. Overall, the officers of the Oklahoma Police Department get a C+, because although they were within their authority to stop and arrest Mr. Jackson, the officers carelessly associated him with an extremist movement and subjected him to a potential federal investigation. Attaching serious labels to harmless civilians not only poses a threat to those civilians, but it also wastes valuable and expensive resources on frivolous investigations, thus indirectly furthering the sovereign citizen agenda by clogging up the justice system. The Oklahoma PD would do well to implement supplemental training programs focused on identifying extremists, and to exercise a more flexible degree of professional discretion. While the OPD officers did manage to remove an illegal vehicle from the streets, the manner in which they executed their authority could certainly be improved. Mr. Jackson gets a C-, because although he did remain calm and friendly throughout the interaction, his claims regarding Oklahoma vehicle laws were completely baseless. Mr. Jackson's background is somewhat of a mystery, and the source of his misinformation about the law remains unknown. I personally believe Mr. Jackson's assertion that he is not a sovereign citizen, and that he has great respect for the justice system, but he is also gravely misinformed about the laws of his state. At one point in the interaction, Mr. Jackson claims that he is working with state legislatures to rewrite the Oklahoma traffic code and that he intends to run for president in the near future, but I was unable to verify any of that information. Although Mr. Jackson appears relatively stable throughout this encounter, it is difficult to discern whether he is purely misinformed or suffers from some type of pathological disorder. Either way, Mr. Jackson's interpretation of the law did not pass the OPD's sniff test, and likely resulted in a hefty penalty inside the courtroom. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic you would like us to cover in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more police interaction content.